Good morning from the bottom of the earth. Here I am in Australia. Let me just turn this up a bit. The news has been exciting, has it not? Raining subpoenas. When I woke up yesterday morning, Australia time, there were 30 extra subpoenas. And by the time I went to bed, it was over 40. So basically anyone who's shaken hands with the Yeti in the last 2 years is being subpoenaed. So we'll be having a look at that. Also, people want to know, what was he doing in DC in his golf outfit? Yeah. All very weird. So we'll have a look at that. In other news, there's a woman who started a new campaign about gun violence, and she describes herself as a recovering Republican. I love that concept. Republicans who have woken up from the coma and gone, really, I don't recognize this party. I don't agree with anything they've got to say. So she, as a recovering Republican, her slogan is, what is more pro-choice than saving your children from gun violence? And so this, again, needs to come from the Republican heartland. So, yeah, lots has happened in the last 3 days since I spoke to you. Okay, now, what's he doing in, I keep going to say Bedminster. Where did he go? DC. What was that little excursion about? And the theories have been wonderful. If you look online, there's all sorts of absurd ideas of why he was there. But let's see what these cards, the One World Tarot, and I want to say also, people, I did this in collaboration with the gorgeous Sienna from Sienna Rose Metaphysical, and we're having a double party at the end of September. That's 2 hours online on the 28th and 2 hours online on the 29th. And it'd be great to see you all there, but I'll let you know more details closer to the time. In the meantime, what was the Yeti doing in DC? All right. Now, oh, someone's got a broken heart. Oh, I don't know if you can see any of this because I'm in the great outdoors. Oh. Okay, why was this? Let's break this down. His first card, this is the classic Three of Swords. Look, you've got to have a heart for it to be broken. So right off the bat, I'm not convinced this is even about the Yeti himself. I think this is speaking of 3 and more than 3. I think this is speaking about people whose hearts are broken because they thought they'd get away with the insurrection, the vote stealing, the demonizing Biden. They thought they'd get away with everything. And suddenly, I think this is connected to those subpoenas. Out in the cold. So if you were a Yeti supporter, obviously there has to be a reason why people hang around him. People are addicted to power and hanging off the apron strings of power. And they've done that. And now they're realizing they're out in the cold. Each one of them is on their own out in the cold. So in DC, I think he did have his own hidden agenda going on there. Oh, of course, the minute I set up, there's a breeze. The famous and very, very deep and complex High Priestess. So he had a hidden agenda, I think, of trying perhaps to make a last-ditch stand legally or something like that, or even just to save his own pimply ass, whatever. He had his own agenda. But here comes Biden. And I think this card trumps even the High Priestess. So this is Biden represented by the forces of law and order. You remember those institutions like the FBI and so on. So this is his agenda hitting up against the DOJ here. The game has been permanently changed with the mishandling, at best, mishandling of the documents, at worst, the selling of the documents. This impacts the whole world. It certainly impacts how the world thinks about America as a superpower, because other countries actually, whether they want to or not, can't deal with America at the moment, actually can't trust the innermost sources until this is cleared up. Right, so this impacts on the whole world. We are only now beginning to understand the scale of these documents, all those undercover people and all the state secrets, everything that was involved, because they keep finding more, right? So this is the world. I think this is also speaking to the fact that the DOJ, Merrick Garland, everyone else at the top of the tree, whether they'd want to be nice about this and treat a past president in a dignified way, it's gone beyond that. This is what the world is suggesting here. The risk to national security has been so grave and ongoing that that's given them the impetus, even though it's really close to an election, to have to keep acting. So what was he doing in DC? I think he was hustled there. There is that energy of being hustled. I think going back to this card, which is not literally Biden, but the forces of the national government, are explaining to him in words of one syllable that this cannot go on and winter is on the horizon. So this is even beyond Game of Thrones now. So I think that was the hard stuff for him in terms of being told, you can't wriggle out of this one. You might be able to wriggle out of that one, and the other 160, but not this one. Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of all this brings us back to the special master stuff. I apologize. The last video I called it a grandmaster. It's a special master. Now, when that news broke, we all went, oh, another major delaying tactic, isn't it? Then, I don't know about you, but I was a bit optimistic then for the next few days, because if you watched all the legal eagles on television and stuff, they were all saying, no, this won't fly. The DOJ will appeal it and it won't happen and can't happen. And it's just the most stupid thing they'd heard of. And so you thought, oh, well, it'll be okay. Next minute, it's on again. Who will be the special master? Who's acceptable to both sides? What? Anyway, that's where it's at. Stupid special master. But the DOJ has slapped back in. They have appealed, of course. And what they have done is prioritized national security. So is it going to go ahead? Apparently there's a name in the hat of someone who's acceptable to both sides. I think this is a setback just in terms of the timeline, but what's going to happen with the DOJ appeal about the special master? What's going to happen with this DOJ appeal? DOJ appeal. DOJ appeal. DOJ appeal. Apparently it's very long, very detailed, and vicious. I'm pleased to hear that. But what's going to happen with it? Let's check it out. Oh, they get the star card. I'm pleased about that. Going to a safe place. All right. Now, I'm wondering, it might be enough to stop the nonsense. I hope so. Look, the star. Now, that is my everything that's the best of America, everything that America represents to its people and those around the world, because as a nation, it's always been bigger than the sum of its parts. It symbolically represents freedom for everyone, etc., etc. We could talk for 6 days about the problems with that myth, but nonetheless, that is how people see the nation, and it's how America sees itself. So the star card is on top. They get the Six of Swords, moving to a safer place, hereby submitting this appeal very quickly, and in the detail they've moved it along and into calmer waters. The Judgment card is right underneath the star card. Now, best of America. But if you want the best of America, America has to wake up, stand up, and fight for democracy. This is what you guys are doing. Bless you all. Right? The Judgment card comes into play. Ace of Wands with a big stick and the Hermit. So this is fire in the belly. I think this is a shot across the bow. If you like, the DOJ saying, we are not playing anymore. You've strung this out for 4 years, 5 years. We're not playing anymore. Time for new rules of the game. But there is the Hermit, and I think this represents conversations behind closed doors. So even if a special master does get appointed and stuff, the deals will be struck. What they can do, what they can't do, what they can look at, what they can't look at, etc., will be done in secret. We won't hear about that, I suspect. So there are deals as we speak being struck about the conditions of this appointment of a special master. Who'd want that gig? Oh, there's no amount of money in the world, is there? Ah, just appalling. Absolutely appalling. And I mean, Trump's only defense seems to be they were declassified. Like he could gaze upon a document and it was declassified. I mean, oh, it's just shocking. All right. Now, we actually have, finally, after 6 or 7 months of horror, some very good news coming out of Ukraine. And good news for Ukraine means bad news for Russia. So I'll get to that next. You may have missed in the deluge of stuff that is everyday's news that there's a federal grand jury is investigating one of Trump's main fundraising PACs called Save America Fund. They love these titles, don't they? We're actually going to take your vote away and make you pay for it. And you'll applaud it. You'll be on side. Awesome. You know, lucky there's a lot of stupid people around because really, I mean, you know, they get their news by intravenous drip from Fox and they believe this stuff, you know. Dreadful. So let's have a quick look at the Save America Fund. Whenever you hear fund, you know there's money. Whenever you know there's money, you know there's filthy hands stealing it. It's a really simple equation on so many levels. But people keep giving him money. So what's going to happen with the Save America Fund? Save America. Oh, this is interesting. In the big picture, the fact it's gone to a federal grand jury is supported by this card, because as soon as you look at any of the Yeti dealings, you're going to find the dirt. So straight off the bat, the sun is beaming on this investigation. Oh, someone stole the money from the Save the America Fund. Oh, what a scandal. As the New York Times says, so many scandals, so little time. Oh, I'm shocked. Now, women are celebrating in this context. So I think with the Save America Fund, I think there are women players on this grand jury and the lawyers. I think there's a lot of high representation of women, because the last card is the Knight of Wands, and you don't mess with the Knight of Wands. She's coming galloping in here. So it'll be yet another scandal. I mean, really, it should be called the Convict Party. You know, felons unite. Why don't they call themselves by their real names? You know, why don't they do that? But now, I'm just going to have, look, before we get to Ukraine, oh no, we'll do it the other way around. Now, what's happened in the Ukraine in the last week is the Ukrainian army that's finally getting a lot of Western aid and armaments has pushed back the Russian army. I think it's 1,100 square miles or a significant amount of territory. And it's doubly significant because it's in the northeast, which is where a lot of Russian supporting people live in that part of Ukraine. So it's hugely significant. Even more significant, and I read this yesterday in an article, but I couldn't quite believe it, but it's been verified since. State TV in Russia, that has so far been a Putin mouthpiece, is starting to question the war. Not only that, they've started to question Putin, and I'm suspecting Putin's on a very, very short road to hell. Now, apparently also it's unprecedented in Russia. Heads of different provinces have called for Putin to resign. This is from inside Russia. He's president for life, which is why the Yeti loved it and loved the idea. Putin is finally being called out by Russia. Look, it's like the MAGA files who are rusted on. There'll be those who will go to their graves thinking Trump's the good guy, and there will be older Russians in particular who'll think, oh, Putin, you know, is a good guy. However, this is the biggest development, I think, in Russian political history in modern times. It's that big a deal. That big a deal. I'll do a 5-carder on Putin. Now, I'm not alone amongst readers who said a year or two ago he hasn't got a great deal of time left. Okay. Oh, yes, indeed. Okay, people know. Now, to make sense of these cards, we have to understand that the Russian army was badly equipped. We know that. Remember that footage from the early days when the tanks were bogged down in the mud and stuff? They've lost a lot of generals. That normally doesn't happen to a powerful army. We then realized the Russian army itself was like, you know, that old thing, big hat, no cattle. And so they've been conscripting. They've been conscripting prisoners. They've been conscripting young people. They've been conscripting old people. That means the desperation has filtered out into the consciousness of those Russians who just always think, or who agree with Putin, oh, let's get the Russian Empire back. Now they're seeing the dead bodies, right? And they're not happy. So Russia itself is at a crossroads, at an absolute crossroads. What's the root of the issue now? It was incredibly foolish to invade Ukraine, but it's all very well to be smart after the event. Putin had every reason to think Ukraine was a civilian nation. I've got this huge, powerful army. I'll just rock in. He obviously thought it would be days or weeks, and that was profoundly foolish. So the atmosphere is now, people have realized, and Russia, like everywhere else, is having fewer children. So if you only have 1 or 2 children and 1 or 2 of them are sent into the Russian front line, you are dealing with pain. There's a strength here. The strength card has turned up, and I think this is symbolic of the endurance of the Russian people. And what's been unique about this conflict is people from the beginning outside of Ukraine, outside of Russia, have pointed it out as Putin's war. This is Putin's war. So this is the strength, because they have had to endure so much with the massive sanctions. You know, we talked about the sanctions and then we move on, but they are hitting people heavily. You know, supermarkets, shelves are empty, jobs have been lost. Absolutely. They are losing sleep. This is all about the Russian people, actually. And the young ones are taking up their sword of social justice. So I think we're at the beginning of a process to ask Putin how long he lasts. It could be months or years, but I doubt it. My feel is it's going to be very quick as we move into the European winter. Oh, God. Russia has suffered enough. Ugh, terrible. And Europe, of course, is looking at a very cold winter because of dependence on Russian gas. So Putin will do his best to milk that. Right. Oh, I just got an audio flash here. NATO is talking behind the scenes to Russian critics. I'm sure they have since day one. That's probably not a revelation itself, but for me to get that hit, it's like those talks are intensifying. In other words, NATO, I think, is saying to these people, if you have the cojones to take him out, we will back you. Oh, wow, that's an unprecedented development. Oh, my God. All right, now, before I leave, a couple of little things. Oh, I wanted to Marjorie Taylor Greene versus Marcus Flowers. We'll see. Now, before that, quite a few of you thought we were going to have a collaboration on video with Cash Peters and Dave and myself. Sorry, no. We'll be talking, and Dave and I will do a collaboration, which will be with, because Cash did a very successful sort of remote protection of Ukraine, and we all like that idea, and so we'll get his permission and hopefully talk to him about that, and that seemed to be very effective. Love you, Cash. And Dave's got very good at guided meditation. Not my forte. I'm a bit of a talker, right, but not so good at the guided meditations. So Dave will work on that, and we'll let you know when it is. So leading into the midterms, what can we do as a collective to help the blue wave soar? Let's hope it's a blue tsunami. Wouldn't that be greatest bliss? Okay. So, the very strange Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know nothing about Marcus Flowers except to say he'd have to be an improvement on his challenger, wouldn't he not? I mean, really. MTG. Okay, so I'll put Marcus Flowers on the left, MTG on the right. Oh, God. Let's see. Let's see. Let's do so. Marcus Flowers. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Look, I'm not. Oh, sorry, bit of a wind gust. Sorry about the girly shriek. Okay, I wish I could say it was really clear cut, but it's a bit. However, Marcus, what's his face? Marcus Flowers. He gets the Wheel of Fortune. On the plus side, he gets the Wheel of Fortune, meaning it's time, and it's usually a card of good fortune. Well, he could be the sleeper in this race. Who's heard of him outside of that state? Not many. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Bit of a sleeper with the Hermit card. He has right on his side with the Justice card. So that all looks good. We get Madam over here, Queen of Pentacles, and that's because, like Tucker with an F, Carlson, she too comes from an extremely wealthy family. We're not talking comfortable, right? We're talking extremely wealthy, which could contribute to the reason she's so out of touch with reality. But there are very wealthy people who aren't and who manage to launch foundations and do philanthropic works, but that's not her. So she comes from big money, which in her case means I'm invincible. She gets the King of Swords, which to me is saying she is going to take the fight up. And then she gets the Empress, which is usually a good card. Okay, don't like that. Don't like it at all. I'm going to do a clarifier or two on the Empress because it's not surprising. She can fund herself if they pull the plug. She has money. She's mad as a meat axe, so she's, going to forge on. Why has she got the Empress card? Why has she got the Empress card? Ace of Swords and Knight of Cups. Oh, the false knight. Oh, okay. All right. What does that say to me? The sword of truth beside the false knight. This is a war of truth versus lies. That's what it's about. So at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. How many people are embedded in the cult of the loser, can't break out from it, and refuse to believe the truth and go with the lies? So I think it's just simply a numbers game there. He has good energy on his side. So we shall see. So I'll get back to you with several things where you can post your questions on Sienna's channel for the tarot party. And also when Dave and I will be doing a guided meditation, you can all join in. So I'll be back to you with both those things. And so I just want you to know in the meantime how much I appreciate you guys. I feel so privileged doing this work. So I thank you. You guys take care and bye for now. except I'm out in the sun now and I can't turn off. I can't find the off button. Oh my word, you might be stuck with me. Oh no, here it is. Hey.